The MLB trade deadline is coming up at the end of this month, and the Mariners are looking to be one of the most active teams in the trade market. So Joe and I came up with our trade deadline plans. We're both going to give you our plans, and we're going to need you to tell us whose is better. Now, the Mariners obviously have some positions of need, right? I consider third base, the bullpen, maybe first base, maybe even the starting rotation as places where the Mariners need to add at this trade deadline, because this team has shown what they can be and how good they can be. We just saw them sweep the Detroit Tigers. Now that we're into the second half in this Astros series, it's time to take a look at what the Mariners need to do on the trade front, because this team has the firepower to do it. You want to go first? You want me to go first with the first trade?
I want to hear yours first, if that's all right.
Perfect, because I have this one as the first one I want to say, just to mess with you. First, I have the Mariners acquiring Seth Halverson
Naturally
from the Colorado Rockies for DeWalt Joseph.
I guess, yeah.
I hope that the Mariners acquire this. Was it Halverstrom?
Halverson, Seth Halverson.
Halverson. I hope the Mariners acquire him this winter, not in this BS trade that you've convoluted here, but I hope they acquire him, because at that point you have to get a jersey.
I will.
You spent all that time working your way into this knot so you can walk away with Seth Albertsons or whatever his name is. And like, that's legitimately impressive. It's stupid, but it's impressive. I'll give you that.
Just straight up.
The number 27 ranked Mariner
Probably falls off the list now that the all the new draft prospects are here. So
on top of not being super great so far.
Yeah. So the way that you're looking at, Seth Halverson has not had a good year. He's actually been worse away from Colorado than he has been in Colorado. People are looking at this train, they're like, why the hell would you do that? The pure stuff from Seth Halverson is something that you can dream on. And I think you get him in the Mariners organization with the Mariners pitching development. You can send him down right when you get him. Send him to AAA, let him work on something. And then when he's ready, bring him back up, because last year he had like a 1.85 ERA or something like that for Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
That guy is absolutely nasty. He's no Victor Vodnik. You know, that's probably a guy a lot of people would want. And then DeWalt Joseph, a shortstop who is 18 years old. It's just it's a lottery ticket that could, I mean, he was one of the top international prospects when the Mariners signed him. He's fallen down quite a bit since he got into the Mariners organization. I think that is the kind of player the Rockies could look for to add to their prospect haul. That, I mean, frankly, he has a chance to be something in the big leagues, but also it's kind of a big risk for them. Seth Halverson, I don't think they would be too bummed on losing him. Again, it's the Rockies. They're a stupid organization as it is.
God.
So I this is not a move that helps the Mariners right away, but it's one that I think helps them later on this season.
A project arm kind of guy. Interesting that Dipoto makes his first move with the Rockies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Breaking down walls and barriers there. Where do you want me to go? Should I acquire a bullpen arm for you?
Sure, why not?
Okay. So here's the deal, right? I am of the belief that if you have to overpay, that's okay. I think,
especially at this deadline.
This is the deadline. If you're ever going to overpay. And I may be getting fleeced in every single trade. I don't know. I really have no idea. But I think that they're not terrible. They could be worse. They could be better. We are getting a reliever from the Baltimore Orioles. And it is not Felix Bautista. It is not Yennier Cano. It is a rental. One, the remainder of the season, we're getting Sir Anthony Dominguez.
Okay.
Currently, we're trading them Marcelo Perez, the Mariners' 21st ranked prospect. He's a right-handed pitcher. He pitched very well in Everett and got called up to Arkansas and has pitched well there also. We're trading them Blas Castano as well and Austin Shenton. So Shenton to me is like 40-man potential guy that maybe plays first base for them a little bit after they trade Ryan O'Hearn, is why I wanted to send them. I originally traded Tyler Locklear here. And I was like,
Oh, wow.
I don't want to. Well, not with everyone else. It was just Locklear and Castano.
Oh,
So I
okay.
swapped it to Perez and Shenton. I figured Castano is a guy that could go eat innings for them if need be. I feel like they'll probably want arms at this deadline just because the way that their pitching has looked and developed, it has not gone overly well for them. Not to say that Castano is necessarily someone to write home about, but I think Perez, who has looked decent this year, it's a half year rental for Sir Anthony Dominguez. Like, you're trading 3 for 1 and you're getting a top 30. I think that's a fine deal for the Mariners to make and also for the Orioles to be okay with. Dominguez has a 3.29 ERA on the year right now with Baltimore in 39 games. He does have 40 career saves. He's always been a leverage-ish arm. I think he slots in ahead of Gabe Spire. And at least for the time being, slots in ahead of Gabe Spire in the Mariners bullpen at this deadline for me. He's currently posting his highest Ks per 9 of his career, 11.97, but also simultaneously a 5.17 walks per 9. Pretty high. I think the Mariners can probably take that and work that down. They've done it with Matt Brash. They've done it with plenty of arms before, maybe even like Carlos Vargas. I think Dominguez would be a welcome addition to the Mariners bullpen and give them another leverage arm to play with during the home stretch and potentially a playoff push.
That's an interesting one. That's actually a name that I haven't really heard all that much of. So that's pretty fun. I wish that I could say that I feel really good about adding Dominguez because, like you said, he has been leveraged before, but he has fallen down a little bit, like you mentioned, but he is striking out a lot of hitters. He does still slot in above Gabe for me. I would agree with that. Probably right before Matt Brash. As like a 7th inning guy, I think that's perfectly fine. And I don't think that you're overpaying in that scenario. Sure, Marcelo Perez could be something. He's at AA now. I mean, that's usually the last stop before pitchers get to the big leagues. But at the same time, he could be nothing. So it is what it is. I think that's a totally fine trade package. All right, let's get interesting.
Okay.
The Seattle Mariners are acquiring Pete Fairbanks and Yandy Diaz.
Okay.
Which is going to add roughly $8 million to the payroll. So not a ton. For Jackson Kowar, Michael Morales, and Harry Ford.
Okay.
So this is where I have Harry Ford going here. Now, obviously, these are guys that have been talked about quite a bit to be traded to the Mariners. Sometimes maybe the Mariners should just go with the obvious picks. Okay, they like to get cute with it and trade for guys you don't expect. Sometimes you should just go with the obvious picks. And we know how much the Mariners like to trade with the Rays, and the Rays are not going to want to pay Pete Fairbanks next year. They're not going to want to pay Yandy, who, as of right now, has a club option, or I'm sorry, Pete Fairbanks has a club option for $7 million next year. The Rays are not going to pay that.
Nope.
And
they
then
want to recoup value.
Yandy Diaz has a conditional club option for $10 million next year. Now, I don't know what that means. Like, he has to reach a certain.
Sure, it's like
I don't know. Yeah, exactly.
The plate appearances turns into like a certain kind of option.
Pete Fairbanks, he has a lot of escalators. I think he's going to be making over $10 million next year. But when you look at their numbers, so Fairbanks has always been a fantastic pitcher. He's rocking a 147 ERA plus this year. His strikeouts per 9, 7.8. Actually, past couple years, he hasn't been striking a lot of guys out. But in 36 innings pitched, he has a 2.75 ERA. He struck out 31 hitters in those 36 innings. Pete Fairbanks is the kind of guy that I think makes a lot of sense for this bullpen. And with how good he's been, I think it makes a lot of sense. He's been basically their closer. He makes a lot of sense to slot in right ahead of or behind Matt Brash. I think either way would be completely fine with me. I would assume he'd be more in between Spire and Brash, similar to how you have Sir Anthony Dominguez. But if you want to go get Pete Fairbanks, I think he's a ground ball pitcher. You go get Pete Fairbanks. That's the kind of guy that I think the Mariners would love to add. Yandy Diaz, we've talked about a lot over the years. You know, the Randy Yandy wife thing, you know, we've talked about that. I just don't care. You know what I mean? They'll figure it out. This baseball team needs to get better. Yandy Diaz is a 1.3 WAR on the year. He has 14 homers. He's hitting 285, 339, 454 with a 122 OPS plus. He's going to play first base for you. He's a right-handed first baseman, so you could still have Luke Raley over there if you want to, batting left-handed. I think that just makes a lot of sense for the Mariners to get Yandy Diaz, and you're giving up Harry Ford. But we talked about in the latest episode of the podcast with Luke Stevenson, Grant J, etc. There's a lot of guys added to this minor league system where you probably feel comfortable giving up Harry Ford. You're also giving up Jackson Kowar. That's just kind of the Rays replacement, in my opinion, for Pete Fairbanks if they want to. Because I know the Rays are in it. I don't think the Rays are going to be in it all season. I just really don't. And Michael Morales is a guy that you know how much the Rays like young arms that they can call up, especially if they trade Taj Bradley, which it sounds like they might. They could have Michael Morales kind of slot in there as well.
I like the trade. I like the idea. I think getting a first baseman's fine. I don't know if you need to go as high as Yandy in my opinion, but ultimately, does the team get better after that trade? Yes. And getting Pete Fairbanks, who slots in ahead of guys like Gabe Spire, Carlos Vargas, in my world, Sir Anthony Dominguez, is a good thing to do for the Mariners bullpen, which is exactly why I also acquired Pete Fairbanks from the Tampa Bay Rays.
Nice.
And you know me and my 3-team trades, baby. I made a 3-team
Oh,
trade.
God. Oh, God.
And we acquired a first baseman with Pete Fairbanks, which is hilarious. I will just touch on Fairbanks. So Sir Anthony Dominguez actually is my 5th reliever. I have Munoz, Brash, Fairbanks, Spire, Dominguez as my 5 arms. And I think that is about as lethal of a 5-man bullpen stretch that you could probably find, in my opinion. Creating death bullpen was something that I wanted to try and do. And I felt that getting Pete Fairbanks and Dominguez would allow them to do that. They acquired 2 relievers at the deadline last year in Garcia and Chargois. Of course, neither of them necessarily worked out super well, but I think that these 2 would rank higher than both the guys that maybe Garcia and Dominguez are comparable, but when you get Fairbanks ahead of them, I think it kind of nullifies that point. But 3-team trade between the Rays, the Guardians, and the Mariners. So we are acquiring Carlos Santana and Pete Fairbanks. Julio needs his emotional support DH, and that is going to be Carlos Santana. 3-team trades get a little funky. So bear with me. For acquiring Santana and Fairbanks, we are sending out Ty Pete to the Rays and Shadden Peavyhouse, a right-handed pitcher in the Mariners organization, to the Rays for whatever reason. A guy named Shadden Peavyhouse going to the Rays. That's a Ray. That feels like a Tampa Bay Ray, an arm that in 3 years' time will, for whatever reason, be nasty. Right? I didn't want to go the Van Scooter or Jimmy Joyce route because it felt like there wasn't enough there for them. Peavyhouse is in Everett right now, and he's got a 6.28 ERA. That will surely be a 2.5 in a year's time in the Tampa Bay organization, in my opinion. We're sending Luis Suisbel and Troy Taylor to the Guardians. The full trade is Tampa Bay receives Ty Pete, David Fry, Jacob Junis, and Shadden Peavyhouse. Because I, like you, am acknowledging that the Rays are still in contention, and I don't think that this completely takes them out of it. Yes, they are trading Pete Fairbanks, but you're getting an offensive upgrade for your bench with David Fry. He's been awful this year. I think a change of scenery, a guy that plays a ton of positions, not very well, a la Christopher Morel, maybe is just another DH, could find some footing in Tampa Bay. You get Jacob Junis, who is a long reliever. For me, they're taking Joe Boyle out of that spot on Fangraphs, putting him into the rotation when they trade Taj Bradley, and then Junis slots into that long reliever aspect. Cleveland receives Luis Suisbel, Troy Taylor, and then Connor Siebold. Siebold was a guy from the KBO. He's in the Rays organization right now. I think he is just going to replace Junis in that bullpen. And then obviously Seattle gets their part of their first base answer with Carlos Santana and a very high leverage reliever in Pete Fairbanks. I do not trade Harry Ford in this, but Ty Pete is another guy that Tampa Bay likes quite a bit. Of course, he has fallen down maybe some sort of prospect evaluation just because the strikeouts have remained high and the hit tool is not developed super well. But I think a freak athlete like Ty Pete in Tampa Bay's organization. You could see what they've done with Chandler Simpson or Simpson,
One of those.
one of those.
Our
Not
boy
necessarily,
Chandler.
yeah, shout out Chandler. Not necessarily super comparable skill sets, but the athlete aspect to me, I think, is what will intrigue Tampa Bay the most. I could have just left this as, you get Pete Fairbanks for Ty Pete, Shadden Peavy House, and like Sweet Spell or something, and I think that would have been fine. But I wanted to get Carlos Santana, so there's a little bit going to Tampa Bay to help offload what you trade. Like, 3-team trades get a little bit confusing, but that is what I ended up on.
And I think the real win for Tampa Bay there is that they're freeing up some salary. They are finding a way to free up, whatever Pete Fairbanks making this year, plus the 10 plus million he's going to make next year. And I think that's very valuable to a team like the Rays, who, if they don't trade Fairbanks, I almost think they probably decline his option.
Sure.
With how good he's been. Like you mentioned, the Rays really like Ty Pete. I think that's a great fit for them because if anyone can turn around Ty Pete in terms of development, it's probably the Rays, and he'll be a guy who has like a 4 WAR in a couple of years for that team. It makes sense for the Mariners to go out there and get Carlos Santana. Obviously, we love Carlos Santana. We've talked about him on the pod recently. He's having a very comparable year to the year that he had when he was traded to the Mariners last time, but maybe even a little bit better. You put him over there at first base in the DH mix as well. The veteran presence. It would kind of suck because he declined going to the Mariners. He was this close to putting pen to paper with the Mariners before accepting to go back to the Guardians. But I don't know. I think that if Santana had to go anywhere, at least he could be back with Julio. And you know what? I too am a sucker for reunions. And I know you know where this is going.
Mm-hmm.
The Seattle Mariners are acquiring Eugenio Suarez to play third base. Now, this gets a little weird with him getting hit on the pinky yesterday.
X-rays
He
were
stayed
negative.
in. Were they? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So, obviously, Gino has had a fantastic year. He's hit 31 home runs. He has a 142 OPS plus. He's hitting 250, 320, 569. And with an 889 OPS, he has 78 RBI. He's still striking out quite a bit, but I think with the way this Mariners offense has been changed this year, I think that it'd be okay to strike out a little bit more if you're adding a guy like Eugenio Suarez. So in this trade, the Mariners are getting their third baseman in Eugenio Suarez, and they're acquiring Zach Gallen to fill in their 5th starter spot.
You're doing it.
In this deal, the Diamondbacks receive Troy Taylor. So I also trade Troy Taylor. Tyler Locklear, who could probably play first base for them if they do end up trading Naylor.
Mm-hmm.
And Logan Evans. And they save $12 million in this deal because the Mariners are taking it. I don't have the Mariners receiving money in any of these. If John Stanton says that the Mariners can spend money, then by golly, they're going to spend $20 million at this deadline by acquiring the players that I have mentioned.
Yeah.
So Logan Evans, Tyler Locklear, and Troy Taylor for Eugenio Suarez and Zach Gallen. Zach Gallen fills in the rest of the year in that number 5 spot. He's a free agent at the end of the year. You go with whoever, maybe Bryce Miller next year if he's healthy, Cade Anderson if you're feeling a little zesty. And Gino, we know how big of an addition that he would be over there at third base. More on Gallen. He's not having his best season by any stretch. He has a 78 ERA plus. He has a 5.4 ERA on the year and 115 innings pitched, and his FIP is at a 4.8. So it's not a great season for Gallen, but over his career with the Diamondbacks, he has a career 3.55 ERA, good for a 1.20 ERA plus. Last year he had a 3.65 ERA with a 1.15 ERA plus. Like he's gotten off to a slow start this year, but I think that you can still dream on the fact that Zach Gallen can be a pretty big contributor for you over the next few months. And if it's in the 5 spot, at least you are going to get consistency out of that spot that maybe you haven't gotten from Emerson Hancock or even Logan Evans. You kind of trust Gallen in the big moment a little bit more than you trust those guys. So an interesting one, but obviously the big acquisition here is Eugenio Suarez.
Of course, and adding him into the big part of your lineup, run driving and opportunities. A big upgrade offensively at third base. I too am acquiring AU Henning. There's layups. You know what I mean? You mentioned it when there's an easy. Sometimes you just got to go with the layup. Don't do anything out of left field because you don't need to. Now, who was the highest ranked prospect you traded there? Locklear at 9?
Locklear. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So your
Do you
highest
think
ranked
that's
prospect is Harry Ford that you trade?
correct?
Okay. Okay. I don't
How high
disagree.
did you go?
I know the competitive market for Geno is going to be it's high. There's the Cubs are interested, the Yankees are interested, the Mariners are interested. Obviously, the Mariners have the most firepower, I think, of all of those teams to make a quality deal. For a half year of Geno, I traded, and it's only Geno. I didn't do Zach Gallen, I didn't do Ryan Thompson or whatever, like another like fifth starter. I am rolling with Logan Evans in my deadline, admittedly. I traded Michael Arroyo, the Seattle
Okay.
number 5, and I traded Michael Morales, the Seattle number 14.
Okay.
So Morales is I imagine that the Diamondbacks will want pitching, and you get that in Morales. I did not want to give up Evans or Hancock because I did not acquire another pitcher, and I felt that Morales has enough value to be okay. I could have maybe traded Hancock there and just said Morales is your 6 or Castan, but like I trade Castano, so like Diaz is your, like I don't know. I'd rather keep Hancock and Evans if I could. Michael Arroyo has had a quite the rise in his stock the last 2 seasons. He has hit the ever living crap out of the baseball. I don't know how well he fits in with the Diamondbacks organization as far as position, if that makes sense. But that is another thing that has plagued his tenure, I think, or his future with the Mariners is where is he going to play? Diamondbacks, they have Jordan Lawler, and then Tommy Troy is their number 4, I think. And he was drafted in 2023, I think.
Yeah, it was either 23 or 24.
At the 12th overall pick. And he's hitting like 280 in AA right now. I think Michael Arroyo could very easily slot into a DH / second base type role for the Diamondbacks next year.
Yeah.
And for the Mariners, I don't know if that's the same, if I could say the exact same sentiments. You know what I mean? So, as much as it pains me to say, but I'm trading Michael Arroyo, a guy that I've been very, very satisfied watching rise through the ranks. A 155 WRC plus in 2025. He's got a 177 just in his 15 games at Arkansas. He's hitting 309, 426, 527. The pop has not gone away in Dickey Stevens Park. He can hit. Is that his one tool? Maybe. Maybe he doesn't have another tool. But he doesn't necessarily, I mean, he's got 6 steals. He's not slow. But I think trading Arroyo when he's at such a high and he doesn't necessarily have the greatest spot for you in your system, I think it is a fine trade to make because you're getting Geno. You're getting the offense. You're getting decent defense. And I'm okay with if it does kind of like leave a hole if you had room for him next year. Because you traded Locklear. I think Locklear could be with the big league club next year as part of their first base answer. You know what I mean? With how well that he's hit down in Tacoma and the changes that he's made to his swing, I think that's been a big upgrade for him and his longevity within the org. I don't know if I can say the same about Arroyo and just how his offensive profile fits. So I have shipped him off, and I know I overpaid for Geno. I think you have to at this deadline because of the competition for him.
Yeah, I think that you're right. You are going to have to overpay, and I think that you and me might be on separate sides of the coin here. I may have underpaid a little bit you may have overpaid a little bit. And I think that if the Mariners have to get into a bidding war, like let's say they offer for Gino, they offer a package of like mine without Zach Gallen in there. So let's say Logan Evans and Tyler Locklear. Then obviously the Mariners have to find a pitcher. Doesn't matter, not the point. Then the Yankees call and offer player X, Y, and Z, and the Diamondbacks like, hey, this is what they offered. Like the Mariners, I think would be comfortable adding another piece to that.
Sure.
Trading Michael Arroyo scares me.
Oh, I know.
For a rental. Now, if you were to get a guy for a couple of years, that I might change my tune. But trading him for a rental does scare me a little bit. Now, he's the number 5 outrated prospect, like you mentioned. I traded the number 9, and then Logan Evans, who's obviously just recently off of the prospect list, but he was probably,
He would been
12-ish,
yeah,
11.
Yeah, I mean, Arroyo's a top 100 prospect. I am trading a top 100 prospect for a rental, and I am openly admitting that, and I am stating the fact that he was playing really well. The hit tool was playing really well, and it's getting better as he goes to a harder park. I am openly admitting that, yes, that is an overpay, and I know that. But I think that that's something that they have to do to get Gino. Because
I agree with that.
Arroyo does not get you to the playoffs this year. Gino does. And I think that they can figure out third base next year if they do not bring back Gino, if he hits the open market, which is probably pretty likely. Would Arroyo have been like your DH next year, or would he have been your second baseman? You move Cole Young to short. Like, there's a lot of things going on there because obviously JP's still there. The timing, similar to you trading Harry Ford, did not fit for how I think Arroyo's value would have aligned. And the best way I could say is that he brings you more value by trading for Gino this year.
So give me all the guys you're bringing in. Give me the ins and the outs here.
The ins and the outs. So, in, Eugenio Suarez, Carlos Santana, Pete Fairbanks, or Anthony Dominguez. Out, Michael Arroyo, the number 5, Ty Pete, the number 10, Michael Morales, the number 12, Marcelo Perez, the number 21, Luis Suispel, the number 28, Troy Taylor, Blas Castano, Colin Snyder. Oh, not Colin Snyder. I changed that. I just still left him there, though. Austin Shenton, and then Shad and PV House.
I have in Eugenio Suarez, Zach Gallen, Pete Fairbanks, Yandy Diaz, and Seth Halverson. Out, I have Logan Evans, Tyler Locklear, Troy Taylor, Harry Ford, Jackson Kowar, Michael Morales, and DeWall Joseph. I think that either of our deadlines, honestly, I think that our deadlines are obviously very similar, but I think either deadline gets the Mariners to the playoffs.
I'd hope so.
Truthfully. Because if you add a third baseman in Eugenio Suarez, you add a first baseman in either Yandy Diaz or Carlos Santana, you're adding Pete Fairbanks, and then you add another guy to that bullpen, whether that be Anthony Dominguez right now or Seth Halverson in like a month or so. I think that creates a very well-rounded baseball team. Did we give up enough? Did we not give up enough? I'm not sure. Where would you slot Eugenio Suarez in your lineup?
My lineup against left-handed and right-handed stays the same with the top 5. So versus right-handed pitching, I have JP, Julio, Cal, Gino, Randy. And then Polo, Rayleigh, Canzone, Young is the way my lineup finishes. You maybe move Rayleigh ahead of Polo and have the switch hitter break up the lefties there at the bottom. Probably is the more likely outcome there. Against left-handed pitching, JP, Julio, I have Cal DHing, although it's just for the semantics. Gino at third, Randy batting fifth, playing left, and then I have Santana playing first, Garver catching, Dylan Moore on right, and then I just put Mastroboni at second, but it could be Cole Young as well. Or you could start Rayleigh or Canzone and have Dylan Moore play second base if you wanted to. But the main parts there is I'm optioning Ben Williamson and I'm optioning Juan Burgos and I'm DFAing Solano and DFAing Trent Thornton.
Interesting. Yeah. I would definitely I would slot Gino 4, like you mentioned. Yandy Diaz, honestly, anywhere from 6 to 9, nice. I'm
Nice.
fine with. Like his bat probably slots more into like a 6-7 range. But if you
6-7.
were to hit him,
Sorry.
if you were to bat him 8th, even 9th, sure. I think I'm fine with that.
It's a
That
deep
is
lineup.
because of how long this lineup is. I think that's totally fine. In mine, like you mentioned, I am optioning Ben Williamson. I'm also optioning Seth Halverson. Like I said, I'm DFAing Donovan Solano. Yandy Diaz replaces him in that scenario. I am DFAing Trent Thornton. And that's it. Because Seth Halverson is going to the minor league, so I don't have to DFA someone else out of the bullpen. So it's an interesting lineup. It's an interesting place for this team to be going forward for the second half. But when do the Mariners make their first trade? What is the date?
July 22nd.
I think it'll be July 24th when I can't cover it.
On your birthday.
On my birthday.
Perfect.
We appreciate you guys watching this one. We'll talk to you soon, and go Mariners.